All right, guys, I'm going to make a quick crypto video here. It's funny. This last week has been really volatile in crypto. I mean, like, people were totally capitulating. Friends of mine were capitulating. I think I was about to capitulate. We were doing pretty good. Then all of a sudden, Bitcoin just crashes for absolutely no reason. We go down to 111 or something like that. Altcoins were getting pummeled. And everybody's basically just like, is alt season over? Is this whole cycle over? You start to get all the articles. Oh my God, the cycle's over. We're not going to have an alt season. And I really saw a lot of people capitulate. Actually, I think I saw more people capitulating last week than I've seen this entire cycle, at least since 2021. And it's probably the first time I actually start to feel a little bit of fear. And the only reason I start to feel a little bit of fear is because, as you guys know, my whole hypothesis, or whatever you want to call it, on this market is we have a timing issue. Things, we need to be in alt season. We need to be at our price levels by the end of the year. If we're in December or January and we're at a 80-cent Cardano and we haven't gotten back over $1 yet, and Bitcoin's hanging out at like 110, 115, that might be it. Benjamin Cowan pretty much said the same thing. He pretty much said, whatever the price of Bitcoin is at the end of the year, that's probably going to be the top. And I totally agree with that. So dumping last week, like we did, and then of course you get all the articles coming out. Oh my God, if Bitcoin closes below 108, 109, that means the cycle is over. I was on some theta thread, and you got a bunch of people completely selling all their theta. Say, I've been holding on for 2 years. There's one guy on this theta thread. He was like a big whale in theta. He's like, I've been holding on to theta since 2022, and it hasn't done anything. So now I'm selling everything. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. You've been holding on to theta. You bought in the bear market. We're in a bull market now. We're about to go into alt season, and you're going to sell all your theta right before we go into full-blown alt season? Like, that's the kind of capitulation I saw. Like, this guy was millions of dollars in theta. He was done with it. I saw all the comments. A lot of people were agreeing with him. Like, oh, theta's not going to do anything. We're not going to have an alt season. It's probably best to sell all your bags of everything while you can. And I haven't seen anything like that in a while. So it was making me a little bit nervous, just thinking, okay, like, what's going on with this price action? Then you have the government shutdown, and everybody's like, oh my God, the government shutdown's probably going to kill this cycle. And of course, the government shutdown, now they're basically saying the government shutdown is helping Bitcoin. Here's a CNBC article. Bitcoin rises as investors seek a global safe haven amid shutdown. But I was also thinking to myself, wait, if Bitcoin crashed during the government shutdown, you'd see a completely reverse article basically saying people are fleeing risk assets because they're uncertain about the government. Like, whatever happens is the news media will make a narrative that fits that particular situation. That's why it's all bullshit. Nobody knows what's going to happen. You can flip a coin. Is the government shutdown going to help or hurt Bitcoin? Flip a coin. You got a 50-50 shot. Nobody knows. I don't think the government shutdown has anything to do with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin basically just dumped a lot, and now people are flooding back in. I mean, what does that mean? When the government comes back on Monday or whenever they come up with a deal, does that mean Bitcoin's going to dump again? We'll see, but I really don't think the two things are really correlated. Saw this from Rand Nooner. Kind of interesting. He says, I know all you guys love these guys, who's like Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, and all these big guys pumping your Bitcoin bags, because they're buying your bags, but they are about to end the cycle. I agree with that. I've been saying that for a long time. Guys like Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, all these guys are going to be what basically they're going to be the catalyst that takes us into the bear market going into 2026. So I hope to be completely out of the market by then, but it's going to really be interesting to see these guys completely get liquidated. It's going to be Armageddon like you've never seen in crypto. So that's interesting to follow. Here on Cointelegraph, not too much news other than the government shutdown. I saw that on there was a Simpson episode, and they were like, they always say like Simpsons predicts everything. Well, they had like on a chalkboard Bitcoin at $170,000 or something like that. And they also had Theta at like $50 or $100 or something like that, which was kind of interesting because for some reason, The Simpsons always predicts what's going to happen. So you guys can look that up. Just type in Simpsons, Theta token, kind of interesting what's going on there. Cardano price surges to $10, or can Cardano price surge to $10? Wall Street analyst reveals likely timeline, blah, 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 blah. I don't think we're getting no $10 Cardano this cycle, but I think a $5 is certainly still in the cards. You know, just the way like Bitcoin pumps so much in the last couple of days, and of course the altcoins, when they get their fire lit under their butt, they pump even harder than Bitcoin. So yeah, $3 to $5 Cardano certainly in play. The Cardano price is drawing intense attention as Wall Street analysts project it will rally to $10. Sparking confidence among long-term Cardano holders. Cardano is recognized for its robust development roadmap and consistent upgrades, but a Wall Street analyst emphasizes that the project's growth paces often leaves investors seeking faster returns elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when Cardano hits $3 or $4, everybody's going to come out and tell you it's going to $10, and those are the people that are going to lose all their money. The hardest thing to do is going to be to sell your Cardano at $3 or $4 when everybody, including your mother, is telling you it's going to 10. Trust me, I've been in that situation before. It is not fun. Some XRP news. XRP faces supply shock. Technical analyst bullish on $4. Yeah, I think $4 for XRP. If you've been holding XRP over the last couple of years, you got in at like 25, 30, 40, 50 cents like I did, you really got to be selling most of your XRP at $4. I mean, we could hit a $5 XRP, at least $4 or $5, but holding much more than that is you're playing with fire. Also have a big whale. A lot of these big whales are actually buying XRP. A lot of these Bitcoin whales, they're looking for altcoins to buy. I got a XRP whale right now, just bought $120 million worth of XRP. You got to have a lot of money if you can just blow $120 million in XRP. But you certainly have a lot of whale activity. A lot of the big whales, they think XRP is going a lot higher, and so do I. You know, I think $4 or $5 XRP is certainly going to happen. And I think October, we're in October right now. You know, everybody always said September is going to be very bearish. I mean, September wasn't that bad. It was towards the end of September when we had that big dump and everybody got bearish. But they always say October is the recovery month, which it kind of looks like we're doing right now. Then November is basically when we get like the all-time highs and, you know, everybody's like in euphoria. We're kind of lined up for that right now. We're kind of lined up, so we'll see what happens. Another reason we're seeing a lot of activity in like XRP, even Litecoin's back up to $120, which is pretty darn good. And then Solana's up as well. A lot of people are talking about the ETF. Solana, XRP, and Litecoin ETF hits 100% approval odds, says Bloomberg analyst. Multiple spot crypto ETF approvals have become a certainty rather than a probability. According to Bloomberg's Eric Balachunas, the senior analyst says recent regulatory changes by the SEC have eliminated previous approval timelines and made new fund launches inevitable. And that's one reason you're seeing XRP still a lot, I mean, not XRP, but Litecoin. You know, one of the reasons I still hold Litecoin is because of this whole ETF thing. I think it's going to basically bring a lot of new interest into Litecoin. And if you look at the price action today, yeah, you got Ethereum up, you got XRP up 3%. Solana's pushing its way back up to 230. But if you go all the way down to Litecoin is up 6%. It's one of the top performers over the last 24 hours. That shows me that when Bitcoin gets bullish, for one, when Bitcoin gets bullish, a lot of people like to get into Litecoin. So Litecoin's kind of like a test on the market. Litecoin dumped pretty hard a couple weeks ago, and that's kind of when everything else followed. So Litecoin is a lot of times a leading indicator in the bullishness surrounding these markets. And right now, Litecoin is up almost 7% in the last 24 hours, which is that's even more than Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano. Like essentially, Litecoin is basically one of the top performers over the last 24 hours, and that's all because of Bitcoin. Litecoin being a proof of work project, just like Bitcoin, plus you have the ETF surrounding it. A lot of these old timers who hold Bitcoin, they also hold a lot of Litecoin as well. So they buy their Bitcoin, then they buy their Litecoin, then they start buying these other these altcoins as well. So to me, that's extremely bullish, seeing that Litecoin is one of the top performers over the last 24 hours. Guys, everything's lining up. I know it's been crazy. I know it's been boring. I know a lot of people have capitulated. I know a lot of people have capitulated. I know some people who capitulated on these forums that I go on all the time, on like Reddit and all that stuff. A lot of people have capitulated on these markets, and I totally get capitulating. Look, if these markets still suck, or they suck going into 2026, I totally get selling all your bags, getting out of here. Okay, it was a nice try, blah, blah, blah. But to sell your bags now, when we're completely lining up, just like every other cycle, to go into full-blown euphoria mode. I mean, we're pretty much there. This month and next month should be basically a euphoria mode. Like, it really is ridiculous to capitulate. And a lot of people, they just, I don't know what it is. Like, there's a screw loose or something like that. Because to capitulate when you've held this far, it's one thing to capitulate last year, like, oh shit, I don't want to hold on for another year. Like, that's miserable. I got bills to pay. But to capitulate when you only have 2 or 3 months left in this cycle, there's something wrong there. There's something wrong. It's basically all about market psychology. And some people just, I don't know. I guess they just can't take the heat. But this would be the worst. Last week, when a lot of people capitulated, like I told you about the Theta guy and all that, a lot of people were just capitulating on everything. And I also see it with, like, I always look at like YouTube views from other big players. Their views were down. I lost like 4 subscribers last week because that tells me that people are capitulating on this market. Now that the market's going back up, I'll probably gain another 4 or 5 subscribers in the next couple of days. Like, it really is crazy how quickly people can turn. But like I said, my advice, it's not financial advice. I could be wrong. These markets could go to zero tomorrow. In fact, you got Abby Loeb out there, that scientist, talking about a possible alien spacecraft asteroid coming. Yeah, that could probably crash the markets. I mean, maybe if they don't come up with a deal for this government shutdown and it just drags and drags and drags. I don't think it will. I think they'll have a deal by Monday. But say it just drags and drags and drags, that could hurt the markets. Like, anything can happen. But if you line this cycle up with previous cycles, we're right on track. The only difference is some of these altcoins have not shined yet, but a lot of altcoins have shined. Solana has shined. XRP has shined. XRP is back up to its previous high. And you guys can find all the coins. A lot of coins have made it to their previous all-time highs, okay? Especially a lot of these stinky pinky altcoins have. Now, a lot of coins have not made it to their previous all-time highs yet. But that's the only difference between this cycle and last cycle. But the cycles they're not going to line up completely, okay? They're not going to line up completely. I personally think a lot of these big coins are going to catch up this month going into next month. Could be wrong. Hell, I thought this whole freaking bull market was probably going to be over by the end of the summer. Last year I was saying that. I thought by the end of the summer we'd be over, but now it looks like we're probably going to go towards the end of the year. Nobody knows the exact timing, but we do know as far as Bitcoin is lining up perfect with previous cycles, and a lot of these altcoins have also lined up with previous cycles. We just have a good amount of altcoins that have not shined yet, but they're on track to do so. And we can go back to how things were last December when Cardano went to $1.30. Theta went to $3. It happens fast, guys. If you guys remember, Theta was like 40 or 50 cents. Everybody said it was dead. And then you fast forward 2 weeks later, Theta's at $3, okay? Cardano was at 50 cents. It was over. Miserable, like everything. Everybody's miserable. Then 2 weeks later, Cardano's $1.30. It happens very fast. If you're not paying attention, you could totally miss it. All right, guys, like and subscribe. Talk to you later.